Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the number one most valuable real estate community in existence. We've got an incredible guest coming to join us today. We've got Mr. Adrian Lindahl coming to join us today. Adrian, how are you doing today, man?
I'm doing good. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I can hear you.
All right, great.
Fantastic. I'm doing well, man. I appreciate you taking the time to hop on the podcast today. I know it's kind of crazy, we haven't been able to really reconnect. Man, this year is just going crazy. I hope that everybody else is really getting these calls coming in, that everybody's overwhelmed with opportunity in their business. Personally had a slower, December, but then January it kicked right back on. But happy to be sitting down and chopping it up with you, man.
Yep, exactly. Pretty similar to me. Beginning of the year is going crazy, trying to make
Absolutely.
some money for 2025.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I guess I just want to go into what I do specifically with my business, and then kind of break down what I do, and also I guess later I can break down that 100K deal that I closed. So yeah, basically what I do in a nutshell is I work pre-foreclosure deals, and more specifically, I work my local market, which is Macon, Georgia, and Warner Robins, Georgia, the whole middle Georgia area. And every person that is in pre-foreclosure in this whole area, I put them in my CRM and I go door knock them. And if you don't know anything about people that are in pre-foreclosure, the best time to door knock them or reach out to them is the first 10 days, which is the notice of default, or the last 10 days right before the auction. So the first 10 days, you're going to catch the people that are motivated to actually do something. Like they're just thinking, you can stop people from going to auction the day before just because they're not answering any phone calls or throwing all their mail in the trash, right? So those are the two time frames that you're going after these people that are in pre-foreclosure. So yeah, what I do is I just door knock these people in my area, and the way you go about it is a lot different from the typical investor. And I'd like to give a shout out real quick to Michael Frankie. This is basically who I learned everything from to get started, and you can find basically all this free content on YouTube. So yeah, basically what I will do is go door knock these people, in the afternoon, right? Like whenever they're off work or whatever. And instead of just putting a note on their door and say, hey, I'll buy your house cash, which I've seen a lot of people do, and hey, I'll buy it cash, sell me your house or whatever. And basically what I'll do is I'll come at them from an option of trying to help, and I'll present them 5 options. It's basically like a closing framework if you look at it. So I'll walk up to them, I'll say, hey, how you doing? My name is Adrian, and I saw your lender was giving me a little bit of grief, and they set an auction date coming up here real soon. Hopefully you've gotten everything taken care of, but I just wanted to stop by and see if there's anything I can do to help, right? And just let them talk. And then a lot of times they'll be like, well, help how? Or they'll be like, I already have it figured out. And, there's different objections. Like once you do it enough times, there's pretty much going to be like a couple of answers that everybody says, right? And you just got to go through the process and the objections. But basically the 5 options that you walk them through is 1, it's going to be a loan modification. Well, sorry, 1 is going to be reinstatement. It's by far their best option. So you walk them to, hey, do you have a 401k, a retirement fund, a family member, a friend? Are you able to come up with this money? Modifications, it can take up to 30 days to get approved. So, you still want to present it to them as an option, as one of their options, because every bank is different. And you don't know if they've already tried to apply before either. So, you want to walk them through a loan modification and kind of just eliminate each option one by one. So I'll just be like, typically they take 30 days to get approved. Your third option, which is by far the worst option, would be filing a Chapter 13 bankruptcy, and you want to explain them like the pros and cons, and just tell them like, yeah, it would destroy your credit for 7 years, and it's kind of like a band-aid. Really, it stops the auction temporarily, but the auction will start back up again if you don't take any action within those like 30, 60 days that it stops it. And then here's the real like money makers. You say, okay, your last option is I can walk through that house and give you a cash offer on it, or the last option is I can do what's called subject to on the property. I'll catch up your arrears. I could give you some money to relocate. I can give you some time to stay in the property. Maybe we can work out some type of lease option, depending on your job situation. Maybe, something big happened in your life, or you're getting a new job or something, like, because, people fall behind on the payments for any reason. If you're able to show to me that you can continue making these payments, we can do like a lease option. And, so me specifically, I would say like a majority of my deals are subject to. I can't tell you why. They just end up going like that. And I'm talking about like subject to with like a lot of equity too, not just like taking over the payments. So that's basically the 5-option framework. You can kind of see how you funnel them towards selling, and you're coming at an angle of actually trying to help them, not just, hey, sell me your house. Right. So that's basically my whole marketing strategy as far as like my local area and pre-foreclosures. And I pretty much learned everything from the Michael Frankie guy, and also some different nuanced stuff by being out in the field. Now, there's definitely a lot of other forms of marketing to do, but keep in mind, pre-foreclosure is like the lowest hanging fruit. Like a lot of people are marketing. Like I know there's some other people in this server and the Flip with the Rig server that go after pre-foreclosures, and they do direct mail and text messaging. Every marketing channel works. You just got to narrow down your KPIs, right? So that's in a nutshell what I. So this 100K deal that I closed in January, basically what had happened was I went and door knocked the lady, and I did the same script, walking her through her options, and what I do a lot of the time is I say, here are your options. I know I just wanted to stop by and introduce myself and show your options, but we can go in a lot more depth over everything and set up like another call or something. I just want to stop by and talk to you real quick. And I try and kind of position myself as like, oh, I'm like a concerned neighbor, right? I just drive by. Oh, I just wanted to stop by, see how everything's going. And also, so I mean, so basically, a lot of my leads come from a sticky note. If you don't answer the door, I leave a sticky note on the door, and it's a crazy high return rate. Basically, what I say is, hey, it's your neighbor calling back. Like anybody is pretty much calling you back if you leave that sticky note. So that's what I leave on the door. But basically, so this lady, I set up another call with her. I said, hey, let's just go over everything in more detail. So then the next day, we set up a call, and then I was talking to her on the phone, going through her options again. And then she like cuts me off, and she's like, I'll sign over the house to you if you pay off the mortgage balance and let me do a rent to own agreement. And then her mortgage balance was only like $40K. So I was like, yeah, I'll do that. I'll figure it out. So basically, on that one, I ended up getting a private money lender, a local private money lender to fund that one. And I closed on it like with 2 days before the auction was supposed to happen. So I saved her, and then she probably lived in there for a couple months. And what ended up happening was I kind of did like a little bit of finesse a little bit. I was like finding her another lease option to go into, and I had her sign like a cancellation of the lease. and then the other one kind of like fell through. And then I was like, hey, I'm sorry. You've already like signed a termination. Like, I'm the owner, you're the tenant. Basically, I'm willing to pay for you to relocate. If you're not willing to work with me, like, you're just going to get evicted. And then basically, I ended up paying like 10 grand for like 6 months for her to go move into a rental. And, you know, she wasn't too happy about it, but I mean, you know, she's getting 6 months free to live. So, yeah, once she moved out, I immediately started on the renovations. Probably spent about like 25 grand in work. And then ended up selling it for 187,000, you know, minus fees and commissions and whatnot. So yeah, that's the biggest deal I've ever done right there.
The biggest one yet. Bigger deals are on their way, man. That's incredible. Congratulations to you.
Yeah, that's true. I appreciate it.
No, absolutely, man. It's crazy to see. You know, I think we started real estate around the same time a couple years back, and it's crazy. You know, those of us that stuck with it, you know, we've been able to do some incredible things, and that's truly incredible. But
yep,
you shared a lot of really valuable information. Specifically, also, you know, you work with a private money lender. Talk to us about how you actually convince somebody to want to be a part of this deal, because, you know, I think what a lot of new investors think the response is going to be from like a private money lender is like, oh, well, why don't I just go do this myself? You know, why do I need you? Or what value do you offer or provide to the deal? Run us through like how you went about finding and building a connection with a local lender, and, you know, what did you do to incentivize them for them to want to work with you?
Yeah. So this specific lender, I had actually, it was like a couple of duplexes I just drove past. And I was like, fuck it, let me call him. So then I called him, and it was like the previous owner or something. And it was like his office manager or whatever. So then I called her. I'm like, hey, I'm calling about these properties or whatever. And she's like, yeah, he sold everything, and I can give you his number. So basically, the lady told me this guy used to own like a lot of properties in Macon. Like, he's a big landlord. He basically liquidated everything, and he said he got a lot of cash, and then he started private money lending, and which is smart, right? Because he really doesn't have to do any management. And he's like real laid back. Like he'll just like look at the deal if it's under 70% and it makes sense for him in a good area, like he'll lend on it. But basically, I got a hold of him, and he told me like yeah, just anything in Macon or Warren Robins, just send it to me. If it's under 70%, if it makes sense, like I'll lend you the money on it. And he's more of a long-term lender. He didn't really want to do the so whenever I first got the private money lender on this 100K deal, you know, I had the lease option with the tenant, so she was supposed to stay in there long-term, but I just ended up getting her out and flipping it. Which, I mean, I'm sure he didn't like enjoy, because, you know, he likes to collect the interest every month. But yeah, basically that's how I connected with him, just cold calling really, and then I networked with him. And then also there's a local closing attorney's office, and they connected me with some local hard money lenders and a couple people as well. It's really just kind of like in the local like investor scene, you know. That's kind of got a hold of him.
That's incredible. So, I mean, you found this guy who liquidated his portfolio and got into private money lending. What did the paperwork look like? How did he kind of secure, you know, his investment? I'm guessing you work with him to come up with the 40 grand to pay the lady, or, you know, what did that look like? What did he lend you? And, you know, what were the terms and everything?
Yep. So I actually got paid to buy that house. I had a purchase and sale agreement with her, and this private money lender, he has actually a really good relationship with this closing attorney. And I've closed a couple of deals with them before too, but he's like, you know, they're like on a buddy basis pretty much. Yeah. So he's like, oh yeah, just send it over to, it's called Martin Snow. He's like, yeah, just send it over to Martin Snow. Me and him will figure it out. I'll get the money laid on it. It was real smooth. I didn't even have to sign no like application or no like bullshit, you know, because he's like a local private money guy, you know. But basically, I don't fully remember it was probably like, so it was like 45K. I ended up getting like 400 back at closing. And the paperwork at closing was, obviously I signed the deed and everything, and then he had a like a first position lien on the property. I had to sign that. And for like about like 45,000. And then I think he charged like, I don't know, like 12% interest or something over like 30 years, Enrich's eyes. So yeah, that's pretty much how it was broken down.
Dope. That's incredible, man. And so, how many months was it, from when you took possession of the house to, getting it all fixed up and then sold?
Well, a lot of the time taken up was her just occupying the property, like not actually doing anything with it. But it's probably like anywhere from like 4 to 5 months, somewhere there, which
Wow.
took longer than I wanted, but they got done.
So the whole process was 4 to 5 months, or was that just her being in the house for 4 to 5 months?
No, the whole process, I think, the whole thing was probably like 5 or 6 months,
Wow.
like everything.
5, 6 months. And so,
Yeah.
I mean, really, I understand, that, she, was trying to get a different place and that may have fallen through. But, I mean, did you at least save her credit? I mean, you saved her from getting a bankruptcy on her record, or
Yeah.
a foreclosure on her record.
So, yeah, this is what I was going to go into this too. So basically, so there's no foreclosure on her record. Her credit is obviously really bad. Like, she fell behind a lot of payments, and then there's other miscellaneous reasons why as well too. But the new place she's in, I was like, hey, I'm paying 6 months in advance. The lady was like, okay, give me the money. And she just moved in, basically.
Mm-hmm.
But I was going to try and work with her, to try and find her a new, like, house to live in that she can own. Whether it be like a rent-to-own program or trying to get her approved for a mortgage, or like a plan to get approved for a mortgage, something along those lines. That's what I was going to do. But basically, what I've learned in this foreclosure space is it's kind of like it'll lead you to different avenues to make money, right? So if you're working with somebody in foreclosure and they get foreclosed on, or you end up saving them for foreclosure or whatever, you can like repair their credit, which is another way to make money. And also, I just recently learned about the surplus funds business / like asset recovery. And it's kind of like, I don't know, kind of like blew my mind a little bit. Basically, if you work with a seller and they ended up getting foreclosed on, let's say they only owed 50K to the bank, and at auction the house sold for 100K, there's 50K in surplus funds. And I would say like 90% of people don't even know that money's available to go claim. And basically in Georgia, they have 5 years to claim that money. If not, it goes to the state.
Wow.
But basically, there's asset recovery businesses. And if you're working with a seller one-on-one that's trying to stop the auction, and for whatever reason they don't work with you, or they put their head in the sand and they end up getting foreclosed on, you can work with them to go get the surplus funds. And every state is different, but in Georgia, there's no cap on the percentage you can get. So you can literally take like 50% of the surplus funds if you wanted to. Like if they had 100K in surplus funds, say, hey, let me just go claim the money for you. Done the paperwork. Here's my fee. You can take like half of it if you wanted to. So there's that side.
And does that apply to tax sales and tax auctions, that kind of stuff as well, or?
Yeah. So actually, yeah. So there's mortgage foreclosures, and then there's tax foreclosures. And this is more like tax deed states, right? Because there's tax deed states and there's tax lien states. But there's a tax deed foreclosure. The auction, so the surplus funds gets huge on the tax auction. So the tax auction starts at the back taxes owed.
Right.
So if you are behind like 10 grand in your taxes, they'll go and foreclose on your shit, right?
Right.
And then it'll go sell for 150K at auction.
Right.
Now, there's a huge surplus funds amount there.
Right.
And I think they're only legally required to send like a letter to notify them to the address on file, which they probably could have moved out of or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So you can go reach out to them and say, hey, there's this unclaimed money. So I mean, I'm new to it. The biggest issue that I've ran into so far is they think it's a scam,
Mm-hmm.
which is crazy because I mean, yeah, you're like coming to them with like, hey, there's literally free money, and basically you got to position yourself like, I'm not asking you for anything. I'm just a local like investor / realtor. I saw there's surplus funds from this foreclosure. I want to go claim it for you. I'm just gonna take a percentage. Like you just gotta position yourself correctly because it kind of seems too good to be true if they didn't know about it.
Right.
And I got my first surplus funds deal, and it was a tax auction. Lady got foreclosed on like 2 years ago, and I went and door knocked her, and yeah, I was like her and her husband. I was like, hey, I'm a local realtor and I'm an investor. I was just doing some research, and on the Jones County website, this property, did you used to live here? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, yeah, I got foreclosed on a couple years back, and it says there's surplus funds on the website of $10,000. And they're like, what? And then I was like, yeah, I'm not asking you for anything. Like, I'll just go claim it for you. And it took, I mean, it was kind of like a choppy pitch probably. And it took me like 2 or 3 weeks to follow up with her. She was like, oh, I'm going to talk to my attorney. And then I was just like, just let me claim it for you. I'm not asking you for, there's like no risk when you're in. And then finally she was like, okay, let's do it. So then, yeah, I did that like a couple of days ago. It's going to be my first one.
Wow, that's incredible. That's incredible. And that's real estate for you, man. Just taking action opens up more opportunity. More doors present themselves, more opportunities present themselves by just taking action, doing deals. So that's incredible to hear. You sharing that has brought a situation that I recently went through where I lost a deal that had already assigned. I was supposed to make like 15 grand on the deal. Literally same situation, tax sale. They sold it way above what was owed in taxes. And so I don't know if this is going to apply in Texas. I'm definitely curious to do some more research about this because that lady definitely needs the money. I want to see, if it's possible to go and get access to those surplus funds.
I mean, yeah, definitely. I'm pretty sure Texas is a tax deed state. So basically, if people don't know a tax deed, so in every state in America, the way the auction county system works is, so to collect delinquent taxes, the government will either do a tax lien system or a tax deed system, and some states kind of do a mixture of both. But basically, a tax deed is you fall behind on your taxes. The county will auction your property off with other properties that are delinquent on their taxes, and they'll basically go ahead and foreclose on your property, and they'll auction it off to the highest bidder to collect their taxes. Right? That's how they collect their taxes.
Right.
And then the excess amount is the surplus funds. They'll hold on to it, and if nobody claims it in 5 years, that's just excess money for the government. And then in tax lien states, which I believe like Florida is a tax lien state, what basically happens is if people aren't paying their taxes, they'll offer up the delinquent taxes to investors like me and you to basically pay the taxes for them. And there's a period. I don't know exactly what it is in Florida, maybe like a year to 3 years or something like that. But the homeowner has 1 to 3 years to pay your lien back plus interest, like 20% interest. Otherwise, you can foreclose on their property for pennies on the dollar. But so those are like the two different ways that the government goes about collecting delinquent property taxes.
Wow.
But in Texas, I'm pretty sure it's a tax deed system, and you should definitely be able to help her claim the surplus funds. I'll just probably work with a good attorney.
Oh, wow. This also brought another deal to mind in Maryland. I had a similar situation where last minute, this guy got foreclosed on, and I mean the house sold for way more than he owed, right? So my whole thing is, could I go back to these leads that I may have thought I lost, and there might still be a way to convert them in some
Yeah, I
way?
mean, we're leaving money on the table for sure.
Right.
The thing is, there's a lot of like quote unquote asset recovery businesses that are cold calling them or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, if you were already working with them before the foreclosure, I mean, you already got your foot in the door. It should be easy.
No, absolutely. This has been a great conversation because I tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, every time we bring somebody on here, there's something to learn. And just by having this conversation, chopping it up with Adrian, I've been able to think about my business and some of the leads and conversations that I've had that now I could potentially revisit. I thought honestly that after the foreclosure was done, like I had no other choice. I mean, there's no other way to do any business with this person. But hearing about the surplus funds has given me, a new perspective on how we could potentially do business with these people. I mean, I've already got 2 people that have come to mind that I could reach back out to that did lose their house to a foreclosure type situation, whether it be a tax foreclosure or tax sale or a foreclosure from the bank. And I think now, we might be able to go back and say, hey, there is still a way for you to get something out of this.
Exactly, yeah. So there is like other surplus funds, like to answer Leroy's question. I've heard there's like bankruptcy surplus funds or unclaimed state funds, but I just haven't really. I'm not really too interested in going into all that because it's not really because like the foreclosure surplus funds is literally like an extension of my current business, right? It's just another avenue to make money. So I'm just going to focus on the foreclosures. And yeah, to go on Kay's comment, the mortgage foreclosures, yeah, it's kind of a pain in the ass. You really have to narrow down the data because to make sure there's surplus funds available, you kind of prospect to guesstimate like, oh yeah, they more than likely have surplus funds available based on what they owe and what it's sold for. Because you don't know about like HUD liens or attorney's fees or whatever, and any surplus funds available, if there's like a judgment or whatever, like those people are entitled to the surplus funds as well too, than the seller. But yeah, I mean, obviously there's still like money to be made.
No, absolutely. I think Leroy's got some good questions. I think he wants to come and join us. You want to open it up for some questions? I mean, I'm sure this already got the gears in my brain rolling. I never thought I honestly thought, hey, if they lose their property to foreclosure or tax sale, like that's the end of the game. There's nothing else I can do. But having had this conversation, now I'm revisiting all these leads and conversations in my head. I'm like, wow, there might still be something we can do there.
Yeah, let's do it. As far as like pulling lists, there's a guy named he's got like a goofy name on YouTube, like Money Making Juggernaut or something like that. He makes a lot of surplus funds content. Kind of like learn a lot from him. And then I got my like surplus funds paperwork from the Michael Frankie guy. But basically, there's like a couple websites like I have to pull it up on my laptop, but there's a couple websites like taxsaleresults.com, like Excess Elite, where you can pull records for like leads that might have excess funds. And the crazy thing is that I've noticed is it's a way easier of a close. So I door knocked 2 people, and one guy was like, "Oh, I'm not interested in claiming the money for my own reasons." And then I was like, "Okay, whatever that means." And then the other lady, she ended up working with me. So I have like a 50% close rate, and I've only done it twice. So I mean, if you position yourself right, I mean, who's gonna say no to like free money that they didn't even know about in the first place, right?
Right.
And if you're telling them the value you're providing, like, hey, I'm gonna get an attorney, I'm gonna file the claim, I'm gonna do this, you sit back, collect the check, like, here's what my company takes as part of the fee.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I really don't see. I mean, obviously you're gonna have people deny you, but I really don't see why people would not really want to work with you.
Let's break down what some of this looks like. So you are offering to get an attorney and file a claim, for those surplus funds. Now, what is your offer? I mean, are you offering to give them half of what you were able to recover?
I mean, so all right, like I said, I think some states have a cap, maybe like 12% or something. In Georgia, it doesn't have a cap, and also some states you can file a claim without an attorney.
Mm-hmm.
But in Georgia, every single county is like, we refuse to work with third parties. We need to work with the claimant or the attorney. So yeah, I just found an attorney. They charge a flat fee of $1,500 to go file the claim, and like it's like so simple. You just say, hey, let me claim the money for you, sign the paperwork, give it to the attorney, and just wait for the check. Like it's a way more simple process than like dealing with the pre-foreclosure and closing a seller, like all that. But what was I gonna say? What was your question?
I'm looking into some of the things in terms of like limitations, right? Is there any limit to how much of the recovered fees you're able to keep for yourself? And you said it was by state, so I was looking into, Texas. I think I saw somebody in here that was talking about Maryland, and that was another state that I had a situation where, the seller lost their home to a foreclosure for a ridiculously high amount, like it sold for way more than they owed. So I would consider, giving them a call again. Leroy wants to know, in which scenarios are you using the surplus fund method in? I think we went over that in terms of this is great for foreclosures or tax sales. What websites are we using, to find out if there are any surplus funds?
Yeah, so it's like taxsaleresults.com that I know of off the top of my head.
Mm-hmm.
And there's one called Excess Elite. It's like a software where you pull data. Let me look on my computer real quick. Hold on. Oh yeah. So for the tax auction surplus funds, call your county's tax commissioner office and say, hey, may I have a list of the surplus funds available in the county? And it should have the sale date, it should have the owner's name, who the surplus funds is available to, and it'll have the amount of surplus funds available as well. And yeah, so yeah, like Kay said, sometimes you can find it online, but I've called my county in Macon, and I couldn't find it anywhere online, and I just called him. I said, hey, do you have a surplus funds list available? And then he just emailed it to me. And basically, like, I'd probably go after everyone that's over like 10 grand available in surplus funds. I probably wouldn't go any lower than that.
And in Georgia, there's no cap.
No, I don't think so.
K Barnes, I guess K is doing this actively and says they charge 30% of the surplus funds recovered.
Yeah, that's standard, yeah.
Fire. James asks, does Texas have a cap? I looked into Texas because I had a lead in Killeen, similar situation. It's a little bit more tricky. I don't think that this is so straightforward. It says that attorney's fees are capped at the lesser of 25%, but assignees, I guess, are capped at 20%. I'm not sure. Is there a cap for non-attorney recoveries? Okay. So, yeah, I guess there is a rule that restricts people from going for surplus funds if you are not an attorney.
Yeah. It's probably safe to use, just have a good attorney on deck. Because it saves you from a lot of like headache too. But yeah, so for the tax auction surplus fund, contact your local tax assessor office, ask them for the surplus funds available,
Mm-hmm.
and then if you really wanted to like get into the surplus funds business, you want to develop some type of lead gen to where you're getting a hold of these people, because people get foreclosed on every single month, right?
Right.
You want to get a hold of these people like right after they get foreclosed on,
right,
to claim potential surplus fund. So for the tax surplus funds, taxsaleresults.com. There's different attorney websites that'll list the excess funds. Call your tax assessor office. And then for the mortgage foreclosures, it's a little bit more tricky because you either have to monitor the auction live, or you work with the seller beforehand, or wait like 30 days to see the sale results, which then you might be a little too late.
Mm-hmm.
And I've heard you can use like Property Radar to check the mortgage foreclosure sale results. So I think that one's a little bit more tricky. I haven't really dug too deep on that one yet.
Gotcha. Well, no, it's definitely interesting, and I think that it's applicable, to everybody's business. I think as real estate professionals, we want to always have the most amount of solutions. That's what sets us apart. That's why I think you're becoming more and more successful, is because you have more and more solutions, for these sellers that are having all these different situations. Somebody that's in, pre-foreclosure, you can help that person in various different ways. You can catch up their arrears because you've got connections with the lenders, that will front you the money. Or, you're in a position now where, you could do it if you wanted to. Or, you could, tell them to go file for bankruptcy, buy more time. You could do a novation. You have a wheelhouse of different options, for that seller. Like you said, you go through like 5 different approaches, right? Okay, can they reinstate it themselves? Can they get the money from friends and family? Can they do a loan modification, to keep them in the house? You have all these different solutions to provide and present to them. But that's what I think separates people that are curious, that want to, dabble in real estate, versus the people that are going to become full-time real estate professionals, right? And those of us that are full-time real estate professionals, we focus on continuously learning and continuously obtaining more and more solutions to these people's problems, and refining the way that we present these opportunities and options to these sellers. So it's incredible, and I'm grateful that you came and shared. Of course, a huge congratulations to you on your biggest deal yet. Not the biggest deal ever, but the biggest deal yet. There will be bigger deals for you, Adrian. I can already tell. This is incredible. And a huge congratulations to you, man, for being able to make that happen. And a huge thank you as well for sharing, what you learned, what you took away from that experience, and sharing, the surplus funds method that you're now working on.
Of course, no problem. Yep. Yeah, I was gonna say, like, if somebody's in foreclosure, like, I'm definitely the best person for them to talk to. With all the tools in my tool belt, like, I'm definitely more like value providing than any attorney that they're gonna talk to, because they're not gonna charge any fees or anything. I'm gonna walk them through all their options genuinely, what their best option is for them and their family, really. So that's why, like, whenever I'm going out and door knocking, I'm like literally I'm not scared at all. Like, I just go up and door knock, hey, I'm here to help. If you come from a position of trying to help, like, there's no reason to be scared to talk to these people at all. And honestly, like, I've heard different stories from different people, like, in the community, but I've never once had like any situation where somebody got like mad at me for trying to like talk to them or door knock them or whatever. Like, nobody's ever like gotten mad at me, like, fuck off or nothing. Like, I don't know. I've never had that happen to me. So
I think that speaks to the way that you approach people, and that you genuinely want to serve, the people that you work with.
Exactly. Yep.
And that's important. Like I said, it goes back to differentiating yourself from somebody who's just trying to make a quick buck versus somebody who's really trying to be a professional and actually offer, some sort of value to these people. We want to really enrich everybody we come across, And I think that you've been able to do exactly that. And it's incredible. You know, you definitely earned the commission that you earned, you know, from selling that house, fixing it up, putting all that work into it. And it's incredible, man. So congratulations and hats off to you.
Yes, sir. Yeah, last month, ended January, I stopped 2 people from auction, and both of them ended up being probate deals. So, so the money from that 100K, I literally like spent probably like close to 20 grand of it paying these people's reinstatement to stop them from the auction last minute. And I'm buying both of them subject to, and one of them is in my neighborhood, and I don't know exactly what I'm gonna do with it yet. It's either gonna be like a rooming house, or I'm just gonna flip it. But it may be another 100K deal because I got it for like 50, 60K.
Wow.
And the PITI on it's only like $600, and the ARV is probably anywhere from 220 to 250. So
Phenomenal. Phenomenal.
Yeah, and then right after that, I'm not even lying. The day before the auction is 10 a.m. in the morning. This guy, I left the signal on this guy's door. He called me at 5 p.m. the day before.
Wow.
So I'm like, all right, let me come over. Let's see what we can do.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, and then I'm like talking with this guy, kind of getting a grasp of the situation.
Mm-hmm.
Then we end up calling the bank, and then, you know, with the probate situation, if you're not like, if you're not an authorized user,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's like a pain in the ass because the bank is not going to give you any information at all. Even if like, if your wife owned the property and you were married to her for 30 years, if you don't have if you're not the administrator of the estate or have any will or anything, like they're not going to give you any information at all. I don't know why they do that. The banks are like predatory, but they're not going to give you nothing. So we had to call the bank like 5, 6, 7 times. We finally got a hold of this one guy that was willing to help us, and he was like, "Yeah, just here's the amount that you're behind. Here's the bank's account and routing number. Send the wire." I don't know exactly what the amount is because there's attorney fees, so I had to send like a blind wire in and just like cross my fingers and hope the auction got stopped. And then the next morning, I got up and I was calling the attorney, the bank, everybody, making sure this auction was getting stopped. And then it like after the auction time, like the auction was at 10 a.m. I got an email like 11 a.m. They're like, "Oh yeah, the auction's being reversed," or whatever. I was like, "Oh my god, thank you."
Wow.
Yeah, and then so I'm on the hook for that one until it closes for like the monthly payment.
Mm-hmm.
But basically, what I'm gonna do is, instead of just burning that money every month, I'm gonna have the seller sign a lease option agreement with the option to purchase, and I'm gonna pay him like $1 a month, and I'm just gonna go ahead. It's gonna have an option to sublease, so I'm just gonna go ahead and rent it out until the probate is finished, and then I'll just close on it. That way, I'm just getting some cash flow coming in.
So what's the current interest rate on the house right now?
I don't remember, but the PITI is only like $500. I'm gonna try and put a Section 810 in there for like $1,000 at least.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible. And they'll let you do all that. I mean, did they get some sort of money? I mean, how did that seller walk away with something from the deal?
He's getting $5,000.
$5,000.
At closing. Yeah.
Wow.
So, and then the other seller, I think I offer her $5,000 too. So, yep.
There you have it. Well, that's incredible, man. How can people get in touch with you?
Just Discord, I guess.
Discord? You active on REI Rev, man?
Yeah, I'm in here.
Absolutely.
If you message me, I'll respond.
Perfect. Leroy asks, are you recording the deed when you do sub 2?
Yes. Just doing like a regular closing, yeah. Well, all right. I'm gonna be honest. The next sub 2, like once I go to closing, I'm gonna hire a transaction coordinator that I know, because I own a couple subject 2s, but honestly, I own them under an LLC, and I've had some mix-ups with like the insurance is what I've ran into. And what mix-up was what I mean by that is we put our name as the insured. We tell the insurance company, hey, we own the property, and then we upload the policy to the mortgage company, and they're like, hey, this isn't the same name as the loan holder. You need to change it. So we run into some issues there. And also, I keep hearing everybody talk about you need to buy it in the trust, put the seller as a beneficiary. But then I've heard a bunch of people talking about that's mortgage fraud. So I'm just going to hire a transaction coordinator to kind of just facilitate the closing and teach me, like, what's the correct way to go about this to comfortably buy the subject to. But, I'm figuring it out every step of the way.
That's how it goes. Just taking action and taking it one step at a time. I'm sure you've got, great resources that you can lean on. Happy to give you a recommendation, to a transaction coordinator that's in here, REI. You can reach out to her, if you don't already have somebody. But, I mean, it's incredible, man, what you've been able to accomplish, for real.
Yes, sir. Yeah, and it did start in here. I met Jacob, yeah. So...
It's incredible, man. I know just a couple months ago we were on with Jacob. You all met through REI Rev. I mean, you scaled up a wholesale operation. You were going direct to seller, doing all sorts of stuff from SMS. Then you got into door knocking with the pre-foreclosures. And I guess that was where everything changed. It was like you found your lane, you found your niche, you found, what works for you. And now you're just doubling down. You're going all in.
Yeah, I found my niche, yep.
That's incredible.
And honestly, I found that, like, it really doesn't take... it doesn't take too much of my time, really, to go after the foreclosures either. Like I said, it's like the last week or two of the month that I can door knock them. And it just depends on the month, right? It's anywhere from probably, like, 15 to 25 properties that I go door knock, and I can knock those out in a couple days, just follow up with them and door knock them again. So the rest of the month... I got other time to do marketing, and I'm going to probably go into another niche, which is probate, kind of educate myself there and go into probate, just kind of get it real niche and kind of specialize in these two motivated sellers. These two archetypes are very motivated, right? So
absolutely.
I got away from the you contacted me, what's your offer, to actually solving problems.
Yeah, and that's where everything changes, I think. Doing the outbound, cold call stuff, I think it's a waste of time. You get your first deal, you make some money. If you're dead broke and you got no way, to generate a lead, you don't really have much of an option. You don't have much of a choice. But once you have some skills, how to get people converted on the phone, you're having great success with door knocking. Google ads have been incredible. It's been a game changer for me. And SMS, man, I still stand firm. Like, I really believe that SMS is like 10 times better than cold calling.
Yeah. And then I keep on hearing there's a lot of like stuff changing the SMS too. Like, they're coming out with like iMessage blasting and like different templates and crazy stuff.
That's crazy. This is news to me. I haven't heard about that before.
Yeah, look into it. It's like a way better conversion rate. They send iMessages, and it's like it's more expensive. I was speaking with Omid. I don't know if
you remember Omid. We got to bring him back on, man. I've been seeing he's popping on social media lately.
Yeah, he started like posting like, yeah, we need to get him on here
for sure.
But I spoke to him about it the other day. He was just saying like he's gonna test it out. He said it's a little bit more expensive, but it just comes down to cost per lead. So
absolutely. Well, this is exciting, man. I appreciate you coming to join us today. And before we wrap this up, man, I want you to talk to that person, maybe even your younger self, that guy that's just getting started in real estate, or even you, when you were first getting started in real estate. What would you say to your younger self, the one that hasn't been through the adversity, the challenges, and the pain, of the journey? what would you say to them, you know, to inspire them to not only get started, but to keep going and endure?
Well, yeah, you only fail if you quit, so keep going. And then I would say find your like niche that you want to do. You know, whether it be text messaging, PPC, cold calling, whatever, just become the best at that. And you know, obviously there's a lot of different factors involved, but just become the best that you possibly can at that and just dominate that field.
That's fantastic advice. And then the other question that I have is, you know, well, what is your why? You know, why is it that you do this? Why do you get up? Why do you want to become a successful real estate professional?
I don't even know. I don't even think about that, to be honest.
That's not even important. That's not even a factor, man. You just get out there.
I just do it. Yeah.
Just wired different.
I guess.
Love it. All right, man. Well, do you have Instagram or anything you want to plug? You know, let people get in touch with you. Of course, you know, you said you could get messages on Discord. You know, if they want to reach out to you, reach out to Adrian through the Discord. Where can people, you know, follow you and, you know, keep up with you?
Yeah, my Instagram is Adrian Lindahl, just my name. I mean, I post stuff like every now and then, like my story or whatever. I want to eventually like start posting stuff like, I don't know, content, like foreclosure or whatever, but
yeah.
We'll get there whenever we get there, but yeah, you can follow me.
Hey, you got to get those glasses, you know, that have the camera on them. Hey, bring the glasses.
Oh, that would be crazy.
That would be so crazy. You get the glasses, go door knocking, and just do like a POV. POV, door knocking pre-foreclosures as a young successful real estate professional.
Bro, actually, I might do that. I'm being for.
Yeah, there you go. Dead ass. Fantastic.
I'll do that.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate you, Adrian. Let's crush the rest of the day today. And I appreciate you, man. I mean, you shared so much with me. I know that the audience appreciate it. Let's drop some fire in the chat for Adrian for coming on and sharing literally all the sauce, you know, that he's learned from pre-foreclosures and surplus funds and everything. And a huge shout out, you know, to the community, especially for chiming in. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the #1 most valuable real estate community in existence. If you haven't already, you got to invite somebody you think would benefit from being in proximity with us. Come and join us at reirev.com or on Discord at discord.gg/reirev. Adrian, we appreciate you. And until the next time, we will catch you in the next one.
Thank you.